When you think of Spider-Man, you think of New York City. So it was no surprise that when Spider-Man PS4 was announced, Insomniac would be creating an open-world New York to go along with the game. I was just not expecting it to be this good. Insomniac had a big challenge: to take one of video games' most used open-world locations and make it feel new, fresh, and yet somehow true to life than ever before. This being only their second go at an open world, I was astonished at the scale and detail that they put into this thing. NPCs in cars, animated basketball games, fairies in the river. They created squirrels to run around on the sidewalks. Who does that? And my favorite detail, the fact that buildings aren't just flat rectangular prisms. They have depth and texture. Windows are displaced from the walls, the buildings have fire escapes, and rooftops have variety. All of these details contribute to a world that feels more real as you're swinging through the city. And the swinging feels so smooth. From the very instant you get control, they have you swinging through the streets like the real Spidey. It's easy to get started, but there's so much depth that you can get into. You can almost feel the wind blow past your skin, blow past your suit as you careen through the endless sea of rooftops. And even with that speed, you don't get to the end of the map too quickly. The map size is just big enough to feel the freedom of swinging without having to turn around, yet small enough to not be confused as to where you are the whole time. That's why when I measured the open world, I wasn't surprised to find it was still smaller than the real-life Manhattan, but it wasn't completely dwarfed by the real thing either. In this game, waypoints are set in meters, so measuring distances would be fairly easy. The first thing I did was measure the area of the straightest part of the map, from the top of Harlem to the bottom of Midtown. That came to roughly 3,000 meters or 1.8 miles down by 1,900 meters or 1.2 miles across, equaling just over 2 square miles. In Lower Manhattan, the land isn't as clear-cut as I would like it to be, so in the interest of time, I measured its general shape, simplifying the land to roughly estimate the size. Lower Manhattan is right around 1.5 square miles. Adding up both parts of the map means the map is over 3.5 square miles. Manhattan is 23 square miles, so the game is roughly 7 times smaller. But if you notice, Insomniac kind of cut off the top of Manhattan. If we do the same to the real place, making Manhattan 19 square miles, then the game would only be 5 times smaller, which is a nice size in my opinion. If it was to scale yet less detailed as a result, I don't think I would have liked it as much. All this kind of begs the question, so what? Like, why should you care about how big a game world would be compared to the real life thing? I think it's just human nature to be curious and want to learn. Recently, I've been noticing implicit ways I've learned things through video games. Things you begin to understand after playing for a while. For example, when you play Spider-Man, what are you explicitly learning about? You learn about the story, the characters, you learn the combat and swinging mechanics, and how the game systems work. But while you play through the game, you are implicitly learning about the topography of Manhattan, that the Empire State Building is near Times Square, that the Brooklyn Bridge is the first bridge you get to when sailing up the East River, and that Harlem is in the northern part of Manhattan. Even though this game map isn't completely accurate, you will learn a general feel for where things are and what Manhattan looks like. I remember talking to my mom about how Manhattan was laid out, and she asked me how I knew all of this information. Right then I realized I learned these things from playing games like Spider-Man 3, Lego Marvel Superheroes, and now Spider-Man PS4. I think it's awesome how games can teach us things about the world without us even realizing it at first. It really gets me excited to see that the time I spend playing games can enhance my life outside of the gaming world. This is the reason I'm passionate about making semi-educational videos about games, to tell people about their worth and maybe influence some minds in the process. I'm going to try and start looking for instances in my life when I don't think or don't realize I'm getting value, and find something I've learned implicitly, something I can gain from my experience. And if you're willing, I think you should try it out as well. With that mindset, you'll have learned a lot more from Spider-Man than how to swing through the city.